Welcome to our final presentation of today, given by Irina Albanese, Head of Innovation at Middle East Africa for DHL Customer Solutions and Innovation. She will look at logistics innovation trends that accelerated during COVID-19, illustrating her talk with a number of case studies.
Thank you, Rob, and welcome everybody. I hope you enjoyed the full day today. So supply chains will never be the same, right? As professionals in the industry, you probably heard that phrase in the last half a year thousands of times. I actually, out of interest, Googled the exact same phrase this morning, and I got 292,000 hits of this phrase alone in Google. So you better trust Google. They will not be the same, right? Well, it's true that in the past half a year, the logistic industry have featured more transformational trends than probably in the last century, and the full effect is yet to be seen. But COVID-19 also gave an opportunity for technology to show its worth. And we can see companies across different industries embracing innovation, embracing digitalization to really help to overcome current challenges. So in DHL, we publish a DHL Logistics Train Radar every few years, and the last 5th edition was published just this September. You can see on your screen the overview of the trends that we put forward. And we can clearly say while COVID commandeered the supply chain function at the top of the priority for basically any company, there is also a number of trends that were amplified during the pandemic. Right? It's not a secret that most of the companies were looking at cost optimization as a priority for their supply chains. And with the recent events actually showed that this approach might not be the most sustainable in such environment. So the resilience is coming in the forefront, and there is a number of trends that really helping to support that resilience. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. And I heard a lot of speakers and presenters today talking about using the data to really understand what's going on, to get valuable insights, to build more resilience. So there are two trends that really work hand in hand, Internet of Things and big data analytics I would like to talk about, as well as the business trend of the future of work. And our virtual conference today is actually another show that we all can go virtual and change to digital overnight. So starting with the IoT. Actually, fun fact, I don't know if you know, but it's predicted that over 10 billion devices would be connected to the internet by the end of this year. And I'm sure you have one of those devices yourself, like a smartwatch. But looking at the logistics and specifically in the transportation context, we can tell that the need for smart sensors and the visibility that they can offer is long overdue, right? Even without the effects of pandemic, the cost of poor visibility is very hard, with over 150 million containers moving at every moment, and more than half of them being late, causing millions of dollars for companies through the delays. The smart sensor technology is actually offering a potential to solve this problem. So let's look at specific use cases that we are driving in DHL. So the first one is coming actually not from this region. It's coming from Mexico with Bayer as a customer with whom we work together. But I can say from experience that the challenges of the Latin region is really quite close to the challenges of our region as well. So where we started, right? We started over 1.5 years ago, and we started first with using just few sensors to really test the technology, train the team to use the platform, understand what kind of sensor would work the best. So we used a third party available on the market sensor from Rombi. And we quickly scaled up to more than 450 active tracking devices. So they're installed on over 4,000 shipments, right? We are tracking more than 549 routes with that. And what we are tracking is the transport conditions, right? The real-time monitoring of where the container and shipment is, as well as the temperature ranges, because it's a medical equipment, devices, and medicine, right, which have quite sensitive temperature controls. Actually, quite quickly, we extended the use case to other data points like distance, speed, road conditions. So is there too much shaking happening because of the poor road conditions, and ETA arrival? So what's it worth, right? Only within 1 year, right? Only last year alone, through really immediate intervention in the case of temperature violations, and through optimizing the network itself, almost 1 million euros were saved. So it's definitely a case to say that was worthwhile investing in those sensors. So when it's coming to our region, we are yet at the beginning of operationalizing the smart sensor technology here. Right now, we are running a number of pilots actively. You can see on the map where we are testing the different type of sensor technology right now. One of them is the E-Link QR code sensor, which is not transmitting the data actually, but you can read through your smartphone by reading the QR, all the history of the events. But we also testing few active trackers that are transmitting data in real life, real time, using 2G, and some of them using also 3G technology. And they would monitor the location of the shipment as well as light events. So in case the container is open, right, there is an alert. So it helps to also understand if it was unsanctioned opening of the shipment before its actual arrival. So in terms of benefits, what we already can see, right, it's a proactive intervention through email alerts in case of any delays, in case of opening, in case of stopping of the shipments, right? Especially it's valid to understand if we have any delays on the borders, right? Looking at the ATAs of shipments, proactively informing the customers, and also a potential exposure to theft activities, which is still quite a big point to look at, especially in Africa region. So those are two cases on IoT, and the next topic I wanted to talk about is the big data analytics. So data is a new oil, right? Nowadays, everybody's talking about that, and it's possible because of also IoT technology and the vast amounts of data that is now available in our supply chains, right? And capitalizing on this data will offer massive operational efficiency benefits, but also customer experience, of course, reduce risks, better forecasting, right? And even creating new business models. But what I can say, actually, though the data is there, it comes with its challenges as well. So for a lot of companies, including DHL, one of the biggest challenges is having a reliable, clean, and structured data, right? So it's not about the tools that you use, right? It's about really the data itself that will give the value. So if you are on this path of using data, I would say looking at the structure of your data, the cleanness, the accuracy, it's a good first step. So in DHL, we've been using data for quite a while for operational efficiency. But what we can see recently, right, with the new technology, especially with machine learning technology, it just brings it to a new level from the descriptive analytics to really predictive and prescriptive analytics, right? And forecasting the volumes in current pandemic times was absolutely essential for us to put the right workforce in our sorting centers, to also work with our network capacity. The surge of e-commerce is really unprecedented in recent months. But the case I want to bring to your attention today is actually not the internal one. It's where we work together with the customer. So in this case is Qantas Airlines, and we started to work with them together on this project, again, more than a year ago. So the challenge that Qantas was facing, that they have they were not unable to correlate order demand for spare parts and actual flight consumption, and really forecast the overseas stations' demands for spare parts. Also, one of the reasons for that the network approach that they were using was not quite efficient for that. They were shipping everything first to Australia and then to outstations. So the DHL Applied Analytics team, first what they had to do is to create really a tool to capture the right data, right? So extract that consumption data and then develop the simulation based on the CLANS consumption data and flight data together to really redesign the network. So the impact, right, that's everybody what is interested in, how much money is in it. So over $1 million saving per annum through the network redesign and different really approach to source the spare parts predicted. We started to use that as well, right? So Qantas was able to utilize those benefits. Well, I can say right now it's a little bit less because there is less flying, but we hope that soon more potential would come out of it. All right, so and now finally moving to quite an exciting topic, right? The future of work. It's actually a business trend that is aided by technology, and yeah, well, the whole world went digital overnight, so we know that it's possible to really quite quickly change the way we work, and the whole collaboration between robots and humans and will give us that even more flexibility in our work systems, right? It will help to manage on-demand workforce models and create really new ones that haven't been seen before. So what you see here, for example, on the picture is the operator that logs in the trucks that are parked in the yard and moving them for efficient onloading and offloading while the truck drivers are not around, not yet coming to the shift or taking the break. So him alone, he can operate over the 10 trucks, which provides quite a significant efficiency gains. So this is not yet done on the road, but with 5G technology, right, that is really marching through, and UAE government specifically commitment to adopt the technology really fast, I would see this trend really coming to work in our region as well. Of course, it doesn't come without challenges, right? We need to make sure that it's fair for the workers, right? It might be some resistance from the workforce, so proper training is needed, the infrastructure, but it's definitely one of the trends that is shaping how we all operate and work. And what I want to share with you, what we are doing in DHL already actively now. So the first case is using smart glasses. That's actually not a Google Glass, it's a different provider. To provide remote site support, right? So with COVID, like everybody of you, right, had a challenge of not being able to be on sites due to travel restrictions, movement restrictions. We're not able to conduct process audits, right? Some reviews, and also some essential technical support, right? So the specialists were not able to fly in and fix some of the operational issues with the equipment on site, right? So with the See What I See collaboration, it's basically bringing virtually the person in, right, and letting them be present in the environment. We forecasted it to be like a big thing to kick off, and it's true. We actually have quite a lot of those smart glasses already deployed, and there is a huge demand from the operations. I know that there are a few participants from construction industry here. I believe that would be a massive also addition to the way how you change working in construction industry, whether it's COVID or not, right? Saving travel and having that expert on the blink of a second at your side is really helpful. And one more thing that we are really trying as well in our operations, it's using bionic enhancements to increase safety and efficiency. Specifically here, you can see an exoskeleton, sorry. So for example, moving ULD requires 2 to 3 people at the same time. So it's not possible to ensure any social distancing. It's also quite inefficient use of the workforce. So with the exoskeleton, one person can do the job. They also can lift quite heavy equipment in a safe way, so without really injuring their back, right? So we are currently piloting solution in few operations. We can see the benefit of reduction of people needed on the site, right? So kind of one step further to completely black warehouse, no people involved. It's also reduced injuries. When it comes to cost benefits, still yet unclear. We need to evaluate further. They're not yet cheap, but we can see that the technology would probably become more and more available and also cheaper quite soon. So those are the few case studies I wanted to share with you, and I would just like to invite you to innovate and collaborate together. We are opening an innovation center next year here in MEA region with the first home in Dubai. So I'll be happy to see all of you there, where we can discuss and showcase and really see what we can do together when it comes to innovation in supply chains. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very interesting. A lot of case studies there. A lot of case studies with a lot of activity actually to track. We have a question here around augmentation. So are you looking at aspects like augmentation? Do you think that that's going to be something that is used more actively in your industry?
Oh, definitely. Augmented reality is kind of one of the trends that we pursue, not only the smart glasses, but also looking at virtual trainings, right? Like pallets, correct pallets loading, ULD loading, as well as we are using a kind of neighboring trend to it, computer visioning for better dimensioning, much faster and much cheaper than the traditional laser-based dimensioning system. So yeah, definitely it's the trend we're exploring actively.
And are you looking at things like artificial intelligence as well and how you can apply that?
Yeah, so basically AI is the next step, right, from data analytics to really get it from the descriptive to prescriptive when the advice is given to a human, what is the best case action scenario to do, right? And our data analytics teams are also now looking at not only machine learning, but machine learning with the elements of AI. I think it's a huge potential for very data-rich industry as we are.
And is this something that you think augments the way people work? Because we were talking much earlier today about the use of AI and how it was going to change the industry. What would it mean for things like jobs, that sort of thing? And the view was that actually it's a tool that frees up people's time so that they can better analyze, for instance, what they're seeing, rather than having to spend a long time analyzing. And then of course they have less time to kind of do the understanding, if you like, of what this could mean and where it could lead.
Well, actually, you would be surprised how much AI we already have, right, around us that we don't know about, right? But you're right, Rob, right? There is a concern that AI would replace humans, but what we can see, it's actually quite opposite. AI frees up humans to do human work, right, and not to do really data digging and meticulous manual analysis, because at the end, it's still though it's predicted, right, in a lot of cases, humans take the decision, humans train the AI to take the right decisions. So I would say that it will be working hand in hand rather than just kicking out people from their jobs, but also giving opportunities to do more creative work for us, right? So removing those mundane, boring jobs and opening up space for more creative way to do work.
Well, also, I thought what was very interesting, as I said, there was a lot of case studies there, so you're clearly very active in experimenting. Do you think that with what you're showing us today, is that a case of you're pretty sure that all of these are going to see light of day and actually be used actively? Or do you think some of them you may evaluate later and say, not for us?
Well, so what I picked today is actually things that we already very either productize, like smart sensors. It's a product that is already available. It's still new for the region, but it's available thing, right? Right. All of that, what I shared today, we are really kind of not just in the pilot phase, but really productizing phase. Maybe bionic enhancement is still the one that we are still testing out. But of course, what we do when it comes to innovation in DHL, right? We do our trend research, we pick out trends, and then we say like, okay, what are those things that we want to pilot, right? And we pilot certain things, and some of them turn out not to be really viable. So for example, at the beginning of pandemic, there was a lot of talk about those automatic disinfection robots, which we tried out, but which proved to be really inefficient because they used the certain lamps, UV lamps that are harmful for people, that you really need to stop your operations. Though it was a lot of talk that this is going to be the thing, right? So of course, the innovation means a lot of trial and error, right? And if you look at the whole suite of the trends that I put here, there would be quite a lot of things that we'll try and probably not pursue further.
The glasses that you were using, something I didn't quite understand with those. So those are not, I take it those are not like the augmented reality that you normally see, where it's like a full goggle.
No, it's actually, so basically, let's take our case, right? So if Rob, you would have those glasses where I can log in, I would be able to walk around your house, right? And well, if let's say you have any problem that you need to fix with electric or plumbing, right? If I would be, I'm not, right? I will be a specialist in it. I can actually direct you what you need to do because I'm really seeing what you are seeing, right? So it's really kind of virtually bringing a person into the environment that you currently see, right? I don't have my hands, I will have to use your hands, but I would see everything that you are seeing.
So it's a bit like being able to do, for instance, maintenance in a plant where maybe before you had to send many engineers. Now you can have fewer actually on site because some of them can be elsewhere directing and advising because they can see exactly the same thing.
Exactly, right. So it's a fantastic example of how those glasses are used, right? On top of it, right, any audits that you need to do, very often also we can conduct some training, right? For example, with training people how correctly load the ULD, right? I can now see what you are doing and I can guide you straight away, right? Before we'll have to send a person around to do that, and now we actually just need to have a set of those glasses on site, and then any specialist can log in and see what the people on site can see.
And the exoskeleton, is that networked or has monitors, sensors with it? Because if, for instance, people are moving pallets or products around, are you then able to remotely track what's happened because they're all feeding information back?
So yes, right. So again, it's just done for also for the safety to understand, right, what kind of loads people are taking. But the prime objective of it is actually not to just track people, right? There's much cheaper devices that can help you to monitor the movement in the warehouse or in the facility, which we are also using. But yes, those machines are able to really capture and analyze the data and as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. That was a very, very interesting presentation. Lots, like I said, I love the fact that you had so many case studies explaining how you're thinking, where you're trying to take the business, and how you think it will change the way you do your business in the future. Thank you also to all our speakers for today. We've had a lot of really interesting discussions and presentations throughout. It's clear from what our speakers have been saying that there is a huge change underway in procurement and supply chain. We heard about how important the business continuity plan is and why it should be regularly tested, not treated as a tick box exercise. Data is of growing importance. We've touched on it here in this final presentation as well. It's of growing importance in most, if not all, industries now. And our panelists, again, earlier today, talked about how they're increasingly interrogating data in different ways, and that this is providing tangible benefits now to their businesses. We also heard this afternoon about how use of data was providing more detailed dashboards and allowed the procurement and supply chain function to become an enabler in front of the board, giving them information, providing evidence, and shaping business ideas. Plus, we heard ideas around things like crowdsourcing to change the way a company operates and the digital transformation of procurement. With that, thank you to all our speakers, and once more, thank you to you, the audience, for your time today. Goodbye.
Final thank you from me as well. Bye.